Good evening. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of Cooking in the Raw. Well, after this morning's breakfast burrito, my social media consultant decided, you know what? You should make something I've never had before. I said, well, what would that be? She said, how about it's an Italian dish with rice. Risotto. I said, risotto? She said, yeah, risotto. I said, okay, well, what do risotto? It's been a long time since I made risotto. It's always been one of my favorite dishes. It's a very simple dish if you like rice, but it's used or made with a particular rice. So I'm going to go over these ingredients for you today while we make risotto. First and foremost, butter. Nice unsalted, nice creamy. Doesn't have to be sweet butter, but just nice creamy butter, unsalted. You want to control the salt you're going to put in your ingredients. Extra virgin olive oil. So this gets a combination of the two, a combination of the olive oil and the butter. And we're not going to be high cooking, but you get a little bit of that richness, from the flavor from the butter mixed with some of that nice fruity olive taste. And then our onions. Now, I like to do a combination of onions and garlic, although you'll find in risottos it simply would be the onion by itself. What I do is I finely mince the onion and finely mince the garlic so it can just melt in the butter and oil mixture. So a nice melting. We want everything to be just nice and blended together. Then I have mushrooms. Portobello mushrooms, nice and sliced. They're going to get sauteed and then nice small bites, not bite-sized, but nice small dice. Something to add a little bit of flavor. So she wanted, again, mushroom risotto. So I'm going to cook those up and chop those off, and you'll see those later. And then a finisher on that is going to be a cheese. A blend of Asiago and Parmigiano Reggiano. Just something to really just cap it off, add that saltiness, and may have to do an adjustment. And another ingredient that I have, which is on the stove now, is going to be some chicken stock. Now, maybe in one of the earlier videos, I made some chicken stock, that I keep in the freezer. So this is just heating up. It was ice cubes. So it's just heating up now and melting. And we're going to use that to cook the risotto. So that's doing its thing here. Now back over to the ingredients. We can't forget about the most important part, and that is going to be the arborio rice. The question was asked of me earlier as well, how come you can't use regular rice? Well, you can, but it would be a different result. But with the arborio rice, we're talking about a rice that is a much smaller grain, if you can see that. You can zoom in on that. A much smaller grain, and right in the center of that grain, you see this little white spot around the crystal or the clear areas. It has a nice starch, content in this rice, and it's that starch that comes out in the slow cooking that's going to give the risotto its creaminess. When we get to that process, and we'll show you that in a minute. Now, there's several schools of thought when it comes to risotto. And that is, some people making risotto, it's like, just give it a nice little toss and stir in the pot, and then one school of just, a little bit later of the broth, simple stir, let it slowly but surely just cook and absorb. I'm from that school, just to slow cook and absorb. Things take time. It takes a lot of time to build flavor. Not a lot of time, maybe about 25 minutes. But I oftentimes tell a story when making risotto in my head, and by the time I finish that story, the risotto is done. Every single time. So we're going to go through this process now and make the risotto. And the first thing we're going to do is add our butter and our oil to our pot here. So we'll get that going. A couple of tablespoons of butter here. Okay. And then some olive oil. Alright, so that's going to be a nice blend there. And then from there we're going to add our onions once that gets nice and good going. So let's turn this down. Now, I always speak about electric. Now, in this case, having control of the heat source is going to be very important, because we don't want the ingredients here to burn. We just want them nicely melt. We don't want to get it too hot. Alright? So we add all of our, you can hear the sizzle. Very nice, soft sizzle. So this is a great dish. Now, I cooked off the mushrooms earlier. You watched me do that. You know, so now the mushrooms are sitting off to the side. What I'm doing now, if you can get a shot here inside the pot, I'll tilt this a little bit. We have our onion and our garlic in here, just slowly but surely, just sauteing. And this is what we're talking about, releasing its natural juices. There's a natural juices in the fragrance of the garlic and the onion. So while that's doing its thing here, slowly but surely, we're getting ready to add the rice. Rice, wow, you can smell it already. Now, as soon as I add the rice, we're going to do a quick little saute on the rice. What we're doing here with the rice is trying to give that rice a head start to release some of the starches. Wow, that smells good. Again, earlier I mentioned if you can see the steam coming off the pot, that is the aroma. Again, if we had aromatics, a way to smell the aroma on television, that would be great. But in this case, you must take my word for it. It's all in the steam, the smell. So we have that going here. You know, everything, again, as I said, is just slowly but surely. It's all about love. Cooking is all about love. And that's what I like to share with my meals. You know, the food must talk to you. It's saying to me, smell me, feel me, taste me, show me. Then I'm going to add our rice now. So what I have here is about a cup of rice. It's not a lot. I don't cook huge portions of food unless I'm having a huge party. Otherwise, I cook just enough food for myself to enjoy the day of. So here we go now. I'm going to add in the rice all at once here. Give the rice a saute. So what we're doing now oftentimes you'll find that people will add wine to the onion and garlic mixture, or just the onion mixture. You know, I sometimes cook with wine, but in this case I'm not using wine because I don't want the wine. The wine adds another taste or another layer of flavor to it, but I don't find it necessary in all cases because I want all my flavor to come from the broth. I am using a chicken stock. You can do this with a vegetable stock. You can even do it with a beef stock or veal stock, depending on the ingredients you're going to be utilizing in your risotto. In this case, I just want just a simple, nice tasting mushroom risotto. I guess I could have made earlier a mushroom stock. That's another video, making a mushroom stock. So we let that get nice and sauteed here. Let's do its thing. And soon, now remember that picture that I showed you of the risotto earlier. I have this nice and clear looking. Now let's get a look here at the risotto as it sautés up in the pan here, as it's beginning to release its starches. So here we go here. Okay. So I don't want to keep it off the heat source too long because this is electric. So you can see as the onion and the risotto, they're becoming, the onion and the rice, the embroiled rice, they're becoming as one. So it's almost like popcorn in this case. Let's make some popcorn. Pop, you can hear it popping in the pan. Pop, 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 pop. Okay? So now, again, as I said earlier, you don't want any color in this. This isn't about color. This is simply about releasing flavor. Okay? Slowly but surely. A couple more stirs here, and then we'll begin to add our first layer of stock. Now, the thing about the stock is, again, different schools of thought. Some schools of thought, they just add the stock in and there you go. And I like to add a stock just enough to cover. Again, this is a slow absorption, just enough to cover. So we're talking about a process that can be as much as 25 to 30 minutes. So here's our first heap of broth. You hear that sizzle? Nice to the sizzle. Turn our fire down to a simmer. So, now, as soon as the steam subsides here a little bit, nice little stir, you can get a look at this risotto here. Now let's see if we get a nice little zoom in on the camera here because I can't move it. Okay, get it right into the part of the angle so we can get the steam on the lid. So you can see it's down to a simmer. You see the nice little bubbles in there. And I just have enough broth in here, or stock, just to cover. Now as soon as that begins to absorb, and I'll show you what that's going to look like, it's going to absorb when you see more of the rice. Then I'm going to add more broth. And you keep doing this process for about 25-30 minutes until it has enough absorption that there's no crunch. That center white piece is what you want to become softened. So I'm going to continue making this risotto and adding my stock, adding my stock, and then I'll show you the finished results. Wow, I don't know if you can hear this, but I can hear the bubbles. You know, it's like, you know, a rhythmic sound, you know, of the rice absorbing all the broth. You know, it makes me feel like dancing. La 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 la. Whoa. Cooking makes me so happy. I just feel like dancing. So I want to give you a shot of this absorption here, so you can see how the broth gets absorbed into the rice. Okay. So now I'm going to add in another ladle here of the stock to continue its absorption. Now we gotta get it just a little more in here to cover. That's all you need. Slowly but surely, one nice little stir. Make sure we got no sticking going here. Slowly but surely, and let it go. We're almost there. Alright, so here we are. We're at the point of no return. Okay, it's nicely absorbed. Taste of the kernel here. You know, nice and creamy here. So it's absorbed the juice here. And this part here goes by pretty fast, because you want to have a little moisture but not a lot. Okay, but you want it to be dry either. So now we're going to add in our mushrooms that we sauteed earlier with the juice. So there goes our mushrooms here. We get that mixed in. Add a little bit of that extra flavor here. Turn our fire down. In this case off, because it's electric. It's going to heat for a while. So we have our mushrooms in there. And now we're going to throw in some cheese. So we don't have to add any salt to this because of the cheese. We'll test it after we add the cheese. So a little bit of cheese here. Nice and creamy. Now I like to use a mixture again of the Asiago and the Parmesan, but you can just simply use Parmesan, which will work out great. So that the cheese kind of helps tighten it up and give it almost like a fondue, I would say. Okay, so now we are ready to bowl. I guess I couldn't say plate, huh? So we're ready to bowl. So let me move these out of the way. Here, we'll set us a bowl right here. And we have these for our garnish ingredients here. So here we go. We'll bowl some up here. Let's get another spoon. And there we go. Nice. A little sprinkle of oregano, just to give it, enhance that earthy flavor. Some cracked pepper on the top of that. Just a little bit of cheese. Now if I had some parsley, I use all my dried parsley. That'd be that. And that is our risotto. So until next time, I can't wait to see you here on Cooking in the Raw with Shell. Bye. I'm going to enjoy this risotto.